as the Millennium City, which is not very old, by the way. It's just 25 or 30 years old. But the infrastructure there definitely doesn't seem to be from the 21st century. It seems to be from the 5th or 6th century. Just a couple of hours of rain, and this is what you get. People are wading through knee-deep water. Drain pipes are broken. There is waterlogging outside some of the most expensive real estate that you will see anywhere in the country. Take, for instance, Golf Course Road. Remember, it's named Golf Course Road. It is home to some of the poshest apartments anywhere in the country, and this is what you would have got in Golf Course Road last night. You wouldn't know where the road ends, where the sidewalk begins, because it's all just water, water everywhere, submerged under filthy water. People were seen wading through waist-deep water in several parts of Gurugram. Vehicles had to be pushed. Look at this young man and woman there. They had to walk through almost waist-deep water. People were pushing and, bikes were stuck and cars were stuck. And this is, mind you, just a couple of hours of rain, and this happened in the evening when it is evening peak hour. Crores and crores have been spent on flyovers and underpasses. It's almost like, you spend these crores for these flyovers and underpasses, but you can't spend a few lakhs on building proper drainage. You can see leaks there. Look at this. It's leaking from underneath a flyover. If you stood under that flyover, if you stood under this flyover where the water is leaking from, you wouldn't be faulted for thinking that this is actually a waterfall. You could actually take a selfie and put up an Instagram reel saying you're actually standing in front of a waterfall. But it's actually water that's leaking off from underneath a flyover. And then there is the infamous Hero Honda chalk, as it's called. Gurugrammers know this because no Hero Honda is a match for these scenes that you saw last night at Hero Honda chalk. Because auto rickshaws, even some cars, were barely visible as the water level rose just within 30 minutes of heavy rain in this particular chalk. So this is what I keep talking about. We have aspirations to be a superpower, a power at the global high table. All of that is great and all of that is necessary. But we can't get there with third world infrastructure. CNN News 18 has been taking stock on the ground in Gurugram. And remember, all through today, all through the 12 hours of today, there's been very little rainfall. But the situation in the Millennium City is just as grim.
Welcome to the Millennium City of Gurugram, a city that is known as the IT hub near the Delhi NCR region, a city where the elite of the elitist actually live over here. Even after rains have subsided for the last more than 2.5 hours, out here the situation in Gurugram continues to remain grim. Currently, I am reporting from this underpass, which is very close to this Sheetla Devi Mata Mandir, and very close also to one of the most poshest areas out here in the district of Gurugram. And you can see in the visuals over here, over the last 2.5 years, there has been absolutely no rain that has been reported from anywhere in Gurugram, or for that matter in the NCR region as well. And till now, the situation of these underpasses continue to remain grim. Traffic movement has been stopped in this entire area.
मैं मौजूद हूँ राजीव चौक पर, और यहाँ की जो आप तस्वीरें देख रहे हैं, आप देखिए किस तरह से जो पानी है वो भरा हुआ है। ना सिर्फ सड़क पर, बल्कि जो अंडरपास शहर में बनाए गए थे उनकी स्थिति भी कुछ ऐसी ही है। आप ठीक मेरे बाईं तरफ आप देखेंगे कि ये जो अंडरपास है, जो आप तस्वीरें देख पा रहे हैं, इस अंडरपास में किस कदर पानी भर गया है। और ये जो पानी है, ये बारिश का पानी है। देर रात जो बारिश हुई उसके बाद पूरा ये अंडरपास जो है पानी का भरा हुआ है। गुरुग्राम में देर रात हुई बारिश के बाद ना सिर्फ गुरुग्राम जलग्राम बन गया, बल्कि बड़े हादसे भी हो रहे हैं। इस वक्त मैं गुरुग्राम के एसपीआर रोड के ऊपर मौजूद हूँ, जहाँ आप देख सकते हैं कि भारी बारिश के बाद ये पूरी सड़क जो है वो धंस गई है, और ये गड्ढा छोटा मोटा नहीं बल्कि इतना गहरा है कि इसमें एक ट्रक भी समा गया।
All right, so here's the irony, and we don't mean this in any sort of Schadenfreude sense, but Gurugram is home to some of the most uber luxurious apartments, shopping malls, skyscrapers, corporate houses, the biggest multinational companies in the world, and yet it cannot get the basics right. Who would have thought that when you buy a house, and people have been buying in a place called Camellias and Magnolias, apartments that are in excess of 50 crore rupees. We had the story just this morning. Dipinder Goyal, who's a co-founder of Zomato, he's bought a 50 crore apartment. He just registered it a few days ago. But what do you get? The view that you get from this 50 crore apartment, just take a look at the scenes outside Camellias just last night. couple of hours of rain, and you can show any of the footage that we got from Gurugram, because that entire golf course road, as it's known, remember, it's named for Golf Course Road, and this is what you saw outside the Golf Course Road. I mean, it's just waist-deep water for kilometers. It's just deep stretches of water. And remember, you have to pay through your nose for all of this real estate. In fact, Dipinder Goyal's flat, I believe, has about 5 parking spaces, but look at the roads outside. In fact, somebody even asked on Twitter whether Zomato will be able to deliver in his ultra-luxury apartment, because no Swiggy or delivery person or Zomato delivery person will be able to wade through this to get into that ultra-luxurious compound. In fact, last year in 2024, the highest that an apartment went for was a penthouse, I believe it was a rooftop penthouse. It went for 190 crores. 190 crores. It's like the turnover of a medium-sized company. That's what people are spending on an apartment. And guess what? You have to bring your own boat. You have to bring your own gondola. It's almost Venice vibes that you were seeing outside these ultra-luxurious high-rise condominiums. But the question that needs to be asked is, who is going to be accountable for this? Like I said, we're not putting this out for any, oh, look at the rich. They spend so much money, but they can't seem to get their, ultra-luxury cars outside because it's full of water and it will actually stop. So you have your BMWs and Mercedes and Audis, but none of that can traverse through 3 or 4 feet of water. So the question that needs to be asked is, what about the municipal commissioner? What about the local MLA? What about the ministers in charge for PWD, for urban development, and all the way going up to the top to the chief minister? We're taking your calls live in this edition of Brass Tacks. The number is flashing on your screen, 0120-640-3751. Who do you think is responsible for this apathy that we see in Gurugram and in other cities, city after city, monsoon after monsoon, every rainfall season? And what really is the solution? Call us. That's the number on your screen. Tonight I'm joined by two very feisty and I dare say angry Gurugrammers. Suhail Seth, author and columnist, is joining us. Advait Akala, author, is also joining us. Suhail, I just played this out to you. I mean, you can spend 50 crores, 70 crores, buy an ultra-luxury apartment, but, this is what you get in Gurugram. 2 hours of rain, and it's just water everywhere.
It's an absolute shame. And what is also alarming is we do these programs every year around the same time. But the politicians and the administrators are so goddamn thick-skinned, nothing happens. If I were the High Court of Punjab and Haryana, the judges also live in fancy homes, so they don't give a damn as well. I would arrest the municipal commissioner of Gurugram. I would arrest the district commissioner, who's an IS officer who's always protected by some goddamn lobby or the other. And I would put these two jokers into prison. And I'll tell you why. Forget who lives where, how expensive the apartment is. It is not right, as far as human existence is concerned, for people to live the way you've shown them to be living. A. B. It is an absolute lack of care and governance that we allow infrastructure of this kind, A, to take place, and B, with zero planning. Number 3, every year the same jokers are pulled up by people like you and me, but they don't care. They are thick-skinned. And why are they thick-skinned? Because, as you said, oh, it's for the elite, they'll handle it. It's actually not for the elite. I live in Magnolias. I couldn't be bothered beyond a point because I'll be fine. But I am angry not because I live in Magnolias. I'm angry because Gurugram doesn't deserve these people as administrators. It doesn't deserve Naib Singh Saini as the Chief Minister of Haryana. And Naib Singh Saini is not the first guy. Emil Khattar was equally worse, if not even terrible at this.
No, so Suhail, what's the solution? I mean, I'm sure you are just as sick and tired of doing these shows as we are doing these shows. What's the solution?
Either Narendra Modi or Nadda, between them, sack the present Chief Minister and then set an example as a deterrent so that some of these Johnnies start working. Otherwise, let me tell you, Zaka, there is no solution. We are paying lip service. You think these guys really care? Do you think these guys even watch our television programs? I'm sure they don't. I've been on them, on their case on Twitter since the morning. They don't care. The thick-skinnedness and the hypocrisy and the I don't give a damn attitude has risen alarmingly. You're at least being good in talking about this. Do you know it's a nightmare every day between Gurgaon and Delhi? Do you think they care? They don't give a damn. As long as their homes in Lutyens, Delhi are fine, or in civil lines in Chandigarh are fine. So, courts are the only thing. But again, then the courts will say, oh, why should we bother? Well, the judges also live in fancy homes. Some judges don't even want to give up their bungalows. So the citizen is basically screwed. What you have to do is lie back every evening, thank yourselves that you live in India, that you're alive in India. Because if these guys had their way, people would be electrocuted in the water that you were showing. People would fall into manholes and no one would give a damn.
So, Advaita, one can understand if there's a lack of resources or lack of money issue. It's clearly not a lack of resources or a lack of money issue. I'm going to just go through, the statistics I have for the Municipal Corporation of Gurugram for the year 24-25, financial year 24-25. The total allocated budget for the Municipal Corporation of Gurugram was 1,571 crores. All right, out of which 1,498 crores, so almost 70 crores short of the allocated budget, 1,490 plus crores was spent. 35 crores was allocated specifically for sewage and drainage, 40 crores for public lighting, 80 crores for roads, 350 crores on sanitation and solid waste management, and 110 crores on general infrastructure development, of which, like I said, 1,490 crores was spent. Where did this money go? I mean, like somebody said on Twitter, it's literally going down the drain.
Oh, it has. And Sohail is absolutely right. We'll be sitting here again next year, Zaka. So I look forward to seeing you next year at the same time, same place, same issue. We don't need another metro service. We need a gondola service now.
Yeah.
That's what we need in the city. We don't need more metros. I mean, it's almost too late when I say this, because this city has been built on greed. That's all it is. There's been a politician, Babu, and builder nexus, which has been thriving in this city. You have apartment being built in areas where it's only permissible to have 2-story or 3-story high buildings because of the drainage infrastructure. But you have 20-floor, 30-floor high rises being built in that area. You have a master plan 2031, which was written in 2007, rectified in 2012, which mandates rainwater harvesting in new buildings. And there's no public information available on whether these buildings have rainwater harvesting. Dwarka Expressway, another nightmare. Do they have rainwater harvesting? That whole new residential complex that has come up there? Is there an audit? There was an audit carried out in 2023 where it was shown to be woefully inadequate. People are just not following rules. And the problem is that the Babus
Can I ask something before we go to our callers? All of these fancy underpasses and these flyovers that are being built, which is great, which is, the need of the hour and it should be built. Why can't it be built with proper drainage? Is it because they overlook it? Is it not important? I mean, it's clearly bad engineering.
This was a town of wetlands.
Exactly.
They have filled concrete on these wetlands and built everything. So there is no space to build drains. There is no space. And the ones that exist are woefully inadequate. And I hate to say this, but we're waiting for a tragedy to happen. We're waiting for some sort of mini pandemic because the waste and the guttural water that is mixed into this flood, or electrocution, or potholes. I mean, the city is covered in potholes. We're waiting for a tragedy to happen.
Zaka, it should tell you something about modern India. Gurgaon has more liquor vents than traffic lights.
Yeah.
It has more bars than schools. If this is where your priority is, I'm not surprised. And by the way, I equally blame the Gurgaon resident, because those Johnnies also, when they go out to vote, they will vote on lines of religion and caste and creed, but not on performance. Because if performance was the metric, then this government, the BJP government, should not have been in power, because this has happened repeatedly. This is the third term of a BJP government. No, Advaita, wait. My
So hey,
point
let
is
me
that
also tell you,
is development really an issue? It's not an issue.
Huda government was hand in
Now
glove
see,
with the
this is the
builders. What
point
are
I'm
you
making.
talking about?
Everyone
No,
is
this is a fact. It
so
is a
then
legacy
by that
problem.
logic.
There is
No,
No,
but
no.
that was 10
By
years
that,
ago,
by
Advaita. That
that
was 10
logic, you
years
have
ago.
admitted that
you
these people also
compromise
hand
the
in glove.
entire
No, no.
system.
By
That may
that
well
logic,
And no,
that may well
there's
be
a
the
problem.
case,
Now
but
it's
that
not-
was
let's not
10 years ago,
act-
Advaita. 10 years ago.
No, because it has been
Advaita's made
but
a
the
huge
problem is
mistake today.
that
In her love
subsequently,
for the BJP, she has admitted that,
no,
like Huda,
in your
these
love
guys
for the
were also
Congress,
in
Sohail, in
cahoots.
your love for the
Okay.
These
Congress,
guys
I
are
can
also
see
in
Okay.
that.
cahoots.
Look,
I
you know,
see all of
I'd be honest. I'd be honest with the both of you. Frankly, I think this should be a non-political issue. This should be
It is a non-political.
citizen, civic issue. Because frankly, we'll be doing the same show about Bangalore a couple of months from now. We'll be doing the same show about Chennai 3 months from now. We do this every single time, and it's not like it's improving there. In any of these cities. We do it about Mumbai. I want to go across to a bunch of callers first, please, if you may. Sundar, sorry, I believe we have a caller, first caller. All right, we had a caller from Gurugram, but I believe we've lost that person. Sundar is calling us from Ranchi. Let's go across to Sundar, please. Yes.
I hope he hasn't drowned.
Mr. Sundar,
Hello.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Good evening,
Yeah.
the eminent panelists. What I want to share is that we are responsible as humans. We have no respect for anything. Either it is a person, it is the climate, it is the nature, work. It's absolutely too much. What has been done cannot be undone. We deserve what we are up to. The whole society, imagine so much of tension everywhere. It's terrible. So it has to happen. And unfortunately, there is no community involvement, right, from the planning stage. People should be involved.
Okay. Thank you for your call. Thank you for your thoughts. I want to come to one fundamental point, and Suhail, please weigh in on this. I mean, Advaita has a point in as much as, look, this did not happen overnight. This did not happen in the last 2 or 3 years. This has been happening for a while. And I think the caller also had a fair point that, look, the way Gurugram is shaped, it's almost like a bowl, right? The city is at the bottom of it. You've got the Aravalis on all sides of it. So basically, you're looking at about 200-meter hills and ridges, which topographically are going to drain in water to the lower lands. And the lower lands are where the city has now been built. Now, somebody should have thought of the fact that if cities are built like this, then it needs to have adequate drainage outlets. And Advaita talked about, the wetlands. I believe there's a Times of India report which has said that 40% of the wetlands have been lost since 1990 to 2020. In that 30-year period,
Thank you,
40% of
And how did
wetlands
that
have gone.
happen?
What has happened
How
to those
did that
wetlands?
happen?
You've got
So
buildings
you
on
tell
top of
me-
those wetlands.
So you
The
tell me,
corruption.
Suhail.
you tell
Because
me,
of the
one minute.
corruption and
Just now you said
Yeah.
don't bring
as a
politics
cash
into
cow.
this. You tell me, did this happen on its own?
No, of course not. Of course not.
Obviously, the politician, and I must say with due respect, the judiciary at times allows this nonsense to happen. Do you know there are rumors in Gurugram that more and more parts of Aravalis will be developed for construction? Who's going to stop you? Who's going to stop you? Tell me. Hammam mein sab nange hain. Whether Huda was in cahoots with the builders, whether Khattar was in cahoots, whether Saini was in cahoots, do I really care? What I care about is Gurugram, which you have listed as a smart city, millennium city. It is not even a regressive city. It's way below regressive. Who's
Okay.
to blame? You tell me, Zaka, who do we hold accountable?
No,
Should we hold the
I
president
agree
of
with
Fiji
what you
accountable?
I agree with what you said at the top. The municipal commissioner, the district commissioner,
Arrest them.
the minister in charge, the local MLA. At every level, the buck needs to be. I mean, the people need to be held accountable.
Deterrent punishment.
I-
You arrest the
Then-
district commissioner, you watch how everything falls in shape.
I
You
wa-
arrest the municipal commissioner, see how everything falls in shape.
I want to go across to Sumit Sani. He's calling us from Gurugram. Sumit, yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. And good evening to your panelists and the viewers. I'm a resident of the city, and I've been staying here a long time. Gurugram is that city which wears the makeup of a smart city, and it is washed down with the first spell of rain. What I'm most appalled with is that the residents of the city somehow are so empathetic towards our leaders. They keep giving a free pass to the likes of Mr. Nayab Singh Saini and others who are voted on good faith year after year, year after year. And yet we come and discuss the same situation. I live on the Golf Course Road. I've recently bought an apartment for which I don't know how many of my and family's kidneys were probably sold, but this is the situation. This is appalling. And just yesterday, an expat who lives in the neighborhood of French City tweeted about garbage and filth dumped on the sides of the roads everywhere, and then this happens.
Yeah.
And a week back, we were talking of Disneylands of the world, and we just got Waterworld open early.
That's a fair point. Thanks, Sumit. Thanks for your call. I think, yeah, he's right. I think there was a big announcement made last week that, Disneyland is going to come to India. The first place is going to set up shop.
Mickey Mouse running all over the place. Mickey Mouse. These guys can't spell Mickey or Mouse. They've been able to do Mickey Dam. Can you imagine? These jokers want to bring Disneyland. First, they need to bring a tap. They need to bring a pump. They need to build bridges, drains. Ye log Disneyland laenge. Ask them to spell Disneyland. These Johnnies won't be able to spell Disneyland.
Okay.
Look at their priorities. Look at their priorities. They want to bring a make-believe world when the real world around us is crumbling. These are the jokers that we have running the state.
Okay, let me also get one more caller in. Mr. Alok is calling us. He's from Delhi. Surprisingly, at least in last night's rain, and I don't want to jinx it in any big fashion, at least large parts of Delhi seem to be okay. I mean, it's the same rain, the same amount of rain fell across the national capital, but large parts of Delhi seemed okay. But anyway, let's speak to Mr. Alok. Mr. Alok, yes, good evening.
Good evening, Zaka. Good evening to your panelists. I, for one, have a bad news.
Yes.
For you. You were fortunate not to be stuck in Delhi rain, because yesterday I was traveling from at the Gurugram border to railway station, and it took me 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And it was all flooded. The seas were no different. Unfortunately, we as citizens and all our authorities have given up responsibility and accountability. Some people need to be thrown behind bars and penalized for what is happening. The same set of people who get up for Kisan Morchas and rights of OBCs need to get up and stand up for the rights of normal citizens suffering day to day.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Thank you very much, Mr. Alok. Advaita, I think he's hit the nail on the head. The reason why this continues happening, and the reason why, we'll do show after TV show on this and nothing will happen, is because nobody is sitting at the border and saying, look, boss, you fix this, otherwise we're not going to let you get away with it. I mean, they'll sit for farmers' rights, they'll sit for, a reservation, so on and so forth, but no one's going to sit to fix our cities. I mean, there has to be political pressure. There's no political pressure. I think the caller's damn right. I mean, the politicians know, who cares about the middle class? Yeah, Advaita.
And I'll tell you, we were talking about accountability, but the thing is that all the functions, when it comes to this act, to handling the rains in Gurgaon, they all overlap. So you have a Huda, that HUDA, I mean, not the politician, and then you have the MCG, then you have the GMDA, so who's responsible? Because each one passes the buck to the next. So I think going forward, if there is a going forward from this, because frankly, I still hold on to the fact that there's so much concrete, there's not much that can be done, but it has to be managed. It has to be managed by penalizing builders, by being strict with new constructions, by ensuring that rainwater harvesting systems are built and are working in all colonies, especially those built after 2007. That's the law. If you don't follow the law, this is what's going to happen. And yes, the government, the politicians, the bureaucracy, they're all hand in glove. They've all looked the other way because Gurgaon has seen a real estate boom.
Yeah.
And the boom is that now I'm speechless because this just happens so often.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Suhail, what are the chances that maybe next year we don't have to do this show?
If we don't do this show next year, if we don't have to do this show, I would gladly welcome you to Gurgaon, to my house for dinner. Hopefully you will come in a car. You won't have to swim your way through. And you will go home without being electrocuted or food poisoned.
Okay.
That I promise you.
I hope I'm
The rest,
invited, Sohail,
Bhagwan
because-
Bharosa. Remember, there's a reason why we built the Ram temple in such a hurry. Because for many reasons, this country is Ram Bharosa. This is one of them. Can I be honest? And I'm not being cynical. We're a great country when it comes to certain things. But we are a terrible country when it comes to... If the armed forces, if the military was given the management, you turn Gurugram into a cantonment, none of this nonsense would have happened. You know why? They won't be able to bribe people. They'll get a lathi and they'll be put in prison. When you have civilian administration of this kind, this is the nonsense you see. So my fervent plea is, if you can't arrest the district commissioner, you can't arrest the Gurugram Municipal Corporation head, turn Gurugram into a cantonment and see how it shines. Right now, it's a royal mess. Smart city. If you can smell smart without killing yourself, I'll salute you.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Advaita and Suhail, for joining us.
Thank
Like I
you.
said, it's our fervent hope that we don't have to do the same show again next year, because this is really, I mean, it's like a broken old record. I mean, we have to do this every monsoon, every time it's Gurugram. Like I said, in a couple of months, it'll be Bangalore, it could be Mumbai, it could be Chennai. Urban infrastructure in this country, particularly when it comes to handling rains, is just subpar. It's below par. It is almost third world-like. But hopefully, things will change. Let's see. Let me now move on to the other big story of the day today, and that is got to do with the Supreme Court, which has now settled the debate, at least for now, over this whole controversy around the Election Commission's special intensive revision of electoral rolls in Bihar. The Supreme Court bench today called it the constitutional mandate of the Election Commission, of the poll body, but they backed the petitioners and asked the Election Commission to consider whether using Aadhaar cards or voter ID cards and ration cards as valid documents for this revision is permissible. Now, here's what the court said in its final order. The Supreme Court basically said that the Election Commission is submitting that list of 11 documents which is asked is not exhaustive. Then the top court added that it will be in the interest of justice if Aadhaar, the voter ID card, ration card are also included as part of this intensive revision. But the Supreme Court also added that it's for the Election Commission to decide whether it agrees or not. If the Election Commission does not agree, then it needs to give reasons explaining the decision as to why it has decided not to include Aadhaar and voter ID card as part of the revision. Also, the court finally said that since no stay has been asked for by the petitioners at this stage, they're not going to impose a stay, which means the Election Commission can continue with this special intensive revision exercise. The next hearing will be held on the 28th, I believe, of July, which is after the time the first draft of the roll will be out. So in a sense, it has cleared the path for the continuation really of this special intensive revision exercise. Allaying the fears surrounding the fact that some of these people, some of these voters could get disenfranchised, that's what the contention of the petitioners was. The Election Commission has claimed in court today that 5 to 6 crore forms have already been filled and uploaded. 1 lakh booth officers have been deployed on the ground to ensure that the exercise is carried out smoothly. The Election Commission has said it's the first time that the Election Commission net has been created in the history of independent India. Not only will the documents be uploaded, but it will also be available for everyone to see. The poll body also added that revision is needed because the age qualifying date is 1st of July 2025. The deadline to fill the forms and send it back for the vote, which is all set for October 2025.
In what is being seen as a partial victory for Election Commission of India, the Supreme Court has refused to stay the Bihar SIR or the Special Intensive Revision Drive that is ongoing. What the Supreme Court has said is that in a week's time, the Election Commission should come back and report to the Supreme Court or file an affidavit explaining why it has decided to not take Aadhaar, election I-card and ration card as acceptable documents. Now, this is quite critical in the way the Bihar SIR is going on. The petitioners said, and they argued this in court, that to not include Aadhaar is a mockery of the process of allowing people to vote. And this is something that the bench also observed, that if one of the 11 acceptable documents is a caste certificate or a domicile certificate, and if an Aadhaar is an acceptable document to make caste or domicile certificate, then why is the Aadhaar not being accepted by EC itself? Now, EC has argued that the law is very clear. Aadhaar is not a citizenship document. It does not prove that your place of birth was anywhere in India. It does not prove that your timing of birth or your date of birth was on such and such date. Why these two provisions are important is that because under Article 326 of the Constitution, EC has to ascertain that the person who is voting is 18 years of age and therefore proof of date of birth is required, and that the person is an Indian citizen and therefore a citizenship document is required. EC has argued that Aadhaar is merely an identity document and does not fulfill these two criteria. So it will be interesting to note that when the EC comes back a week later to the Supreme Court, how does it really respond to Supreme Court's suggestion that Aadhaar along with the EPIC card, the election iCard and ration card be made an acceptable document?
All right, I want to go across to former Chief Election Commissioner O.P. Rawat. Thank you very much, Mr. Rawat, for speaking with us. How do you see the Supreme Court's order today? On the one hand, it has refused to stay this exercise in Bihar, but at the same time, it's also asked the Election Commission if it can consider including Aadhaar and photo ID card, etc., as some of these documents that can be acceptable.
Actually, Honorable Supreme Court has always been supportive of election process, processes, and same thing happened this time also. And the only risk this time was about some resource poor people not being able to get those one of those 11 documents, getting disenfranchised. That Supreme Court has taken cognizance of and suggested to Election Commission to relax those things so that no resource poor person get disenfranchised. And I think Election Commission will definitely do something to ensure that no such thing happens.
There's also the question of, could this controversy have been avoidable in the first place had the Commission included some of these more openly available documents, whether it's Aadhaar or, photo ID card or other, documents which are much more accessible than, let's say, a domicile certificate or a caste certificate, etc. What's your view on that?
Actually, intensive revision never happened so close to elections in the past, because whenever intensive revision happened, elections were quite far away. In fact, in 2003, elections were 2 years away. So that ensures that anybody who is aggrieved by the Election Commission for ERO's decision can go in appeal, and the appeal can be disposed of in that much time, so that in election he doesn't lose a vote. So, number one, intensive revision should have been done a little earlier. But now, if that was not there, then second thing would have been for citizenship proof. Election Commission could have said that out of these 11 documents and any other document which they possess and they feel it is okay.
But Mr. Rawat, the Election Commission has been attacked repeatedly by the political opposition, the Congress, other parties. There was this big rally yesterday. First in Maharashtra, the charge against the Election Commission was that there were some 40 lakh new voters who've been added over a period of 5 months, inflated voter rolls and so on and so forth. Now in Bihar, the criticism is the opposite, that nearly 2 crore voters are at the risk of losing their voter identity. As a result, the Commission is being attacked for both reasons, for allegedly inflating the rolls and, in this case, allegedly deflating the rolls.
Actually, in Maharashtra, for addition of voters, things have been cleared by so many processes. Even High Court has said that there has been nothing wrong. Second thing, generally, the additions to electoral roll between Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha polls in such case has always been 4 to 5%. Third thing, there has been an amendment that the qualifying date for adding new voters, earlier it was 1st January only. Now it has been 1st January, 1st April, 1st July and 1st October. And since Bihar elections are in November, so 1st October, eligible people have to be added, and therefore revision was necessary. Only thing is that generally election commission used to have before election summary revision, which never used to have these kind of complications. This time it was intensive revision, and there was hue and cry among resource poor people that how can they muster those documents which election commission has listed in the list of 11.
Okay, Mr. O.P. Rawat, we'll leave it at that. Former Chief Election Commissioner saying that there are lessons that the Election Commission can learn from this episode in Bihar, and we hope those lessons are learned. I want to move on to another story. China's misadventure in Arunachal Pradesh is not something new. China has on multiple occasions in the past tried to transgress, change the status quo unilaterally, even rename places in Arunachal Pradesh and claim that it is Chinese. But the military threat aside, there is now a new concern which has been raised by no less than the Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister himself. In an interview to PTI, Pema Khandu, the Arunachal CM, has said that the world's largest dam project that's being built on the Brahmaputra River is a matter of grave concern for his state and the residents of his state. He's called it a ticking water bomb. Now, it's called the Great Bend Dam, as it's informally referred to as part of China's broader push for clean energy under the 14th five-year plan. It's a $137 billion project. It is expected to take years to complete. It'll be powered entirely by the transboundary Yarlung Sangpo, which is how the Brahmaputra is known in Tibet and in large parts of China, southern China, where it flows through. It's located in the Midong County. The dam is designed to tap the sharp gradient and the high volume where the river curves around the Namcha Barwa peak. But this section of the Himalayas lies directly on a tectonic fault line which is prone to major earthquakes and frequent landslides. So building a massive dam such as this on such a geologically sensitive territory is in itself fraught with risk. The project involves deep tunneling. It's estimated at over 400 kilometers through very unstable mountainous terrain, which could alter the region's hydrology. It could trigger unforeseen ecological changes. The central worry in Delhi is not just the environmental fallout, but also the strategic leverage. Because China is not a signatory to any international water treaty. There is no water treaty between India and China, like the Indus Water Treaty between India and Pakistan. If there was such a treaty, then India could have forced China to abide by its international commitments. But since there is no written down treaty, and China being the upper riparian could possibly hold the control of flow of water from the upper riparian to the lower riparian. Let's listen in to what the Arunachal Chief Minister had to say.
हमें अरुणाचल का बॉर्डर में वो लोग को प्लान कर रहे हैं कि एक बहुत बड़ा दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा हाइड्रो पावर प्रोजेक्ट बनाने का करीबन 60,000 मेगावाट। तो उसको लेके सभी लोग चिंतित हैं। तो अगर चाइना इंटरनेशनल वाटर ट्रीटी का अगर सिग्नेटरी होता तो हम लोगों के लिए प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, क्योंकि उसमें जो डाउन द लाइन जो बेसिन में जितना पानी छोड़ना है, अपना जो एक्वा लाइफ मेरीन लाइफ के लिए जितना पानी चाहिए मैंडेटरी जो छोड़ना है वो उसको छोड़ना ही पड़ता है। इनफैक्ट अगर वो लोग इंटरनेशनल वाटर ट्रीटी शेयरिंग का अगर सिग्नेटरी होता तो हम लोगों के लिए ये प्रोजेक्ट जो है ब्लेसिंग इन डिस्गाइज होना था। प्रोवाइडेड इफ चाइना कुड हैव बीन द सिग्नेटरी एंड अबाइड्स बाय द इंटरनेशनल वाटर शेयरिंग लॉ, लेकिन चाइना तो सिग्नेटरी नहीं है। अभी प्रॉब्लम उसमें है। अभी प्रॉब्लम इसलिए है क्योंकि चाइना का भरोसा नहीं है कब क्या कर देगा। तो मान लीजिए अभी वहाँ पे डैम बन जाने के बाद में वो लोग अगर पानी को छोड़ देता है तो हमारा पूरा जो सियांग बेल्ट पूरा ख़त्म हो जाएगा। और वहाँ में खास करके जो ट्राइब है वहाँ पे आदि ट्राइब लोग मैक्सिमम उस बेल्ट में ही बसे हुए हैं। तो वहाँ का पूरा प्रॉपर्टी, उसका ज़मीन, खास करके ह्यूमन लाइफ बहुत काफ़ी डिवास्टेटिंग इफेक्ट होगा। ये काफ़ी एक, क्योंकि चाइना इसको लेके एक वाटर बम की तरह भी वो लोग यूज़ कर सकते हैं। We share border with Tibet.
Yes, right. With Tibet, yes. 1200 kilometers.
1200 kilometers. Originally देखिए आप मैप देखिए, इनफैक्ट इंडिया से कोई भी स्टेट डायरेक्टली चाइना से बॉर्डर शेयर नहीं करता है। वी शेयर बॉर्डर विद टिबेट ओनली। ठीक है, 1950 में चाइना लोग वहाँ आके टिबेट को ज़बरदस्ती कब्जा किया, वो बात अलग है। So, so officially, yes, Tibet abhi China ka under mein hai. That can't be ruled out. But originally, we share border with Tibet.
All right, talking about China, there's been a lot of speculation around the Chinese Supreme Leader, President Xi Jinping, because he's been missing in action over the last few days, most notably at the recently concluded BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. China was one of the founder members of BRICS, but Xi Jinping skipped that particular summit. The BRICS summit is the first time he skipped a BRICS summit in the 12 years that he's been in power. And that has led to a lot of speculation. Where is Xi Jinping hiding? Has he gone missing? Is this a strategic retreat because of pressure domestically? Or is it something larger? And who could possibly succeed him, if at all that is the plan? A succession plan is being laid out in 2027 when the next Chinese Communist Party's Congress is expected. For over a decade now, Xi Jinping has been the face of a rising China. A leader who has projected confidence at global fora, he's reshaped domestic politics and positioned himself as president for life. But this year, for the very first time since taking power, Xi Jinping skipped the annual BRICS summit. His absence has triggered a wave of speculation. Is China's most powerful leader in generations preparing to step aside? Or is something deeper at play within the Communist Party's secretive corridors? Xi Jinping's decision to send Premier Li Qiang in his place is unprecedented. He's never skipped a BRICS summit since officially becoming president in 2013. In fact, as per official Chinese government records, Beijing is citing scheduling conflicts as the reason why Xi Jinping could not travel all the way to Rio de Janeiro. But analysts are not quite convinced. After all, Xi Jinping has made BRICS a centerpiece of his foreign policy since 2012. Why then this sudden change? And it is also not that Xi is traveling to someplace else at this given point of time. He has no international trips planned which coincide or which collide with the BRICS schedule. So then what was this scheduling conflict all about? Because skipping BRICS sends out a powerful signal at a time when Donald Trump is railing and ranting against BRICS and BRICS countries wanting to start their own currency, wanting to devalue the dollar. This is not just about diplomacy. It's about what is also happening inside China and this great power competition between China and the United States. First, let's talk domestic. China faces mounting economic headwinds. It's got sluggish growth, there is high youth unemployment, and a property sector that is in deep crisis. Internally, the Communist Party is grappling with dissent and the need to maintain stability. Some believe that Xi Jinping's absence is a tactical retreat. He's shielding himself from international scrutiny while at the same time consolidating power at home. These domestic challenges have eroded confidence in Xi Jinping's economic stewardship, and it has fueled rare public dissent. By staying put at home, Xi Jinping may be seeking to consolidate control, avoid any further international scrutiny, and he wants to focus on stabilizing the situation at home first before moving abroad. Second, there are also signs of growing factionalism within the Chinese Communist Party. Xi Jinping's sweeping anti-corruption campaign and centralization of power over the last decade have made him both revered as well as resented within the Communist Party. Some insiders believe that his absence from the global stage is a strategic move to manage internal party dynamics and prevent any potential rival from exploiting this power vacuum. Back in late June, the Communist Party's elite decision-making body, the Politburo, passed new rules to standardize decision-making and to delegate more authority to institutions. Is that a sign that Xi Jinping is preparing for a transition? Well, the most important date is going to be the 2027 Party Congress. Just ahead of that, speculation is mounting that Xi Jinping could either share power or even relinquish some power. These reforms could be about smoothing the path for an eventual successor, or at least giving the appearance of collective leadership. For years now, Xi Jinping has defied convention by refusing to name a successor. That's a departure from the collective leadership principle established after Mao Zedong. This has created uncertainty both inside and outside China. The new regulations by the Politburo could be an attempt to restore a semblance of institutional balance, reduce the risks of a power vacuum, and prepare the ground carefully for a managed succession. Xi Jinping's recent absence from public view, and that too for several weeks, has only fueled more speculation. Rumors about his health, political standing, and even the possibility of a coup have been circulated widely. None of these, though, have been substantiated. Xi broke with precedent by abolishing presidential term limits. He secured an unprecedented third term, the first person after Mao to have that, and that earned him the label President for Life. This move upended decades of Communist Party precedents and also sparked fears of return to one-man rule. Yet, recent developments suggest that the President for Life model may no longer be tenable. The Party Congress in 2027 could be a turning point. Will Xi Jinping stay on, or will he orchestrate a phased succession, a handover of power to someone younger? Will Xi seek a fourth term, or will he orchestrate the phased handover of power to a trusted younger lieutenant? The lack of a designated successor makes the transition more opaque and potentially unstable. In a system where personal loyalty often is more important than institutional norms, the stakes could not be higher. Unlike his predecessors, Xi Jinping has not named an heir apparent. The list of potential successors is long, but it's also murky. Top of the list is Wang Yang, who's a reform-minded technocrat who was recently elevated within the party. There's also General Zhang Youxia, who's a powerful military figure with deep connections to the military and also to the faction of former President Hu Jintao. And then there is the current premier, Li Qiang, who is Xi's trusted premier, who's now in the international spotlight after attending BRICS and other international fora in Xi's place. Other potential contenders include Ding Xuexiang, Wang Huning, Zhao Leji, and Li Hongzhong. As the world's second largest economy faces a crossroads, the question is fundamental and it is central. Where is Xi Jinping and what comes next for China's leadership? The answer to that question could reshape not just China, but even the existing global order. The uncertainty surrounding Xi Jinping's future and the succession plan has profound implications. If there's a smooth transition, that could reinforce stability and continuity, but if there's a messy and a contested handover, that could trigger internal turmoil and it could reverberate across global markets and geopolitics. As the 2027 Party Congress fast approaches, all eyes are on Beijing. The mystery of Xi Jinping's absence is more than just personal drama. It's the test of China's political system and its ability to manage change at the very top of its power pyramid.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
For months now, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi had promised the release of documents on the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, which she said could reveal damaging details. She drummed up anticipation over the files, which have long been a source of speculation and conspiracy theories. But on Monday this week, a memo by the Justice Department undercut the Attorney General's statements, pouring cold water on these baseless claims. It amounted to a conclusion which was reached many years ago by investigators. The crux of the conclusion is that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself while he was in a Manhattan jail awaiting trial. This is what the memo said, and I quote, "The systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. There was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. The Justice Department did not uncover any evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties," unquote. In the past 6 years since his death in 2019, the case of Jeffrey Epstein has become a public obsession for a segment of Trump's MAGA supporters. Some of them have accused two of Trump's senior-most advisors, Pam Bondi, who is the Attorney General, and the FBI Director Kash Patel, of slow-walking the review and the release of the Epstein files. A release of related documents back in February, which Bondi once again had hyped up, fell flat. It drew widespread criticism, as much of the information in those files was already in the public domain. While many had been waiting for what Bondi declared Phase 2 of the release of the Epstein files, this new memo by the Justice Department sought to end any such expectations. It included an hour-long video whose existence was previously disclosed. This was at the hallway outside of Epstein's jail cell. Except that the video itself does not show much.
In February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, It's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day.
The video released by Bondi and Patel appears to have a missing minute just before midnight that night. The digital clock on the screen jumps from 11:58 p.m. to 12 midnight. Officials do not exactly have an explanation for this apparent gap and this drop of a minute.
We released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night.
The memo goes on to chide those who've pushed their own conspiracy theories of what crimes may have gone unpunished in the Epstein parties. Epstein was accused of paying young underage girls for sexual acts, often under the guise of getting a massage. Back in February, when asked on Fox News about the so-called client list, Pam Bondi replied that it was sitting right on her desk right now for her review. Asked about the seeming contradiction at a news conference back on Monday, the White House spokeswoman Carolyn Leavitt said that Pam Bondi was referring to the entirety of the Epstein case file. She, in fact, as expected, got pilloried by reporters.
The FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that.
Even before the official release of the Epstein files, the Trump administration has been facing criticism for its handling of the issue. Billionaire Elon Musk posted disapprovingly on social media back on Monday that no one had been arrested in the Epstein case. In fact, Epstein himself was arrested, and his longtime assistant was charged, tried, and sentenced to prison for her role in the abuse of minors. And last month, as Elon Musk engaged in a vicious public feud with President Donald Trump, the world's richest man had suggested that Donald Trump had something to lose with the release of the Epstein records. He even accused Trump of being in the Epstein files, something which he later retracted. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein had crossed paths over the years, both of them being regular fixtures on the wealthy social circles of New York. In fact, in 2002, in an interview with New York Magazine, Trump had said that he had known Epstein for 15 years. He called him a terrific guy who was a lot of fun to be with. Now, Trump's top investigators and top prosecutors are having to defend a man who his base thinks is guilty as charged in these sexual exploits of minors.
Co-presented by This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
US President Donald Trump on Wednesday announced a 50% tariff on all Brazilian products starting from August 1st. He also called the trial of former President Bolsonaro a witch hunt and an international disgrace. Now Trump accused Brazil of undermining free elections and American free speech through secret censorship orders. He has also said that a 50% tariff on all Brazilian goods would begin August 1st. Now, this didn't sit well with Brazilian President Lula da Silva, who has lashed out at Donald Trump. This is the breaking input that we are getting for you, where we are learning that US President Donald Trump has now imposed 50% tariff on all the Brazilian products, and this will start from August 1st. I'm being joined by CNN News 18's Akansha Swaroop. Akansha, what would have prompted Donald Trump to impose a 50% tariff on Brazil?
Right. Remember, he's really been riled up by the Brazilian President Lula da Silva, and we all know that this is also being used now as a pressure tactic by the US President, who's now also referred to how his predecessor, Lula da Silva's predecessor, Jair, who's the far-right leader, Jair Bolsonaro, has been a victim of a witch hunt. Donald Trump called on Brazilian authorities to halt Bolsonaro's prosecution over an alleged coup attempt. And of course, we all know that it was Brazil that played host to the recently concluded BRICS summit, where the declaration also not just mentioned the rising tariffs but also condemned the airstrikes on Iran, and that was a direct reference to the United States and Israel both. But most importantly, it was the Brazilian president, Ayusha, who actually condemned the US president for the tariffs when he directly hit out, saying that the world does not need an emperor. So this kind of a spat that we are seeing between the Brazilian president and the US president has been in the making for quite a few days. Remember, Donald Trump has slapped 50% tariffs, and in that letter that he's addressed to the Brazilian president, he also goes on to talk about how if Brazil chooses to come up with reciprocal tariffs, which as the Brazilian president already has announced in that post that he's taken a shot on X, because he said, according to the Brazilian president, their own rule of reciprocity will kick in after these 50% tariffs being slapped by the United States. And so the US president to that has already made it amply clear that depending on whatever reciprocal tariffs Brazil slapped them with, there will be additional 50% tariffs to this. Now remember, the Brazilian president has already highlighted that as far as the talk of trade deficit is concerned, that is false, because they already have a trade surplus of close to $450 billion with the United States. So Brazil's Lula is not mincing any words, or he's not going to be bowed down by the US president. He's taking him head on in that entire post that he's shared on X, where he's in fact gone on to condemn the US president, saying that Brazil is a sovereign country with independent institutions and they will not accept being tutored by anyone. This is, of course, to do with how President Donald Trump called upon the Brazilian judiciary to stop the witch hunt against the former Brazilian president, Jair Bolsonaro. And that's why, and with regards to tariffs, this is also what the Brazilian president has said, that the statistics from US government itself confirm a surplus of the country in the trade of goods and services with Brazil, which, as I highlighted, is over $400 billion just over the last 15 years. So in this sense, any measure to increase tariffs unilaterally will be responded by Brazil, because Brazil's not.
Namaste, Jai Hind, you're on the Hard Facts. I'm Anand Narsimhan. In a huge setback for the INDIA alliance, the Supreme Court has refused to stay the Election Commission revision of electoral rules in Bihar ahead of the assembly elections due later this year. The apex court has asked the poll watchdog to consider whether Aadhaar, voter IDs and ration cards can also be included in the list of documents for verification during the special intensive revision. The Election Commission has been directed to file its counter affidavit by the 21st of July, with rejoinders to be submitted by the 28th of July. That is the next date for the hearing. This comes just a day after the India Alliance led a Chakka Jam protest in Bihar, accusing the Election Commission of working at the behest of the BJP.
Now, Rahul Gandhi has accused the Election Commission of plotting to rig the polls in Bihar, calling it a repeat of what happened during the Maharashtra elections. Albeit the difference being, in Maharashtra, the allegation is voters were added surreptitiously. Here, the allegation is in Bihar, voters are going to be disenfranchised.